Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Arant from Arant Academic Planning. This is another installment of a virtual information session series where I'm joined by mission representatives from schools all across the United States, Canada, and Europe. These schools represent a wide variety of options for you and your family to consider, whether small liberal arts colleges, large research universities, women's colleges, religiously affiliated schools, and everything in between. And tonight I am joined by Allie, excuse me, from Willamette University. So Allie, you want to go ahead and take it away?
Great. Thanks, Matt, so much for having me. Um, like you said, my name is Allie. I'm with Willamette University. For those that maybe aren't familiar with Willamette, you're going to get a little bit of a snapshot on what we have to offer. I'm going to cover a little bit about just some of the basics of Willamette. So if you're not too familiar, you start there. We'll talk about the academic experience that our students have here. We'll also talk about what life outside of the classroom looks like, because I do think at Willamette we do provide a good balance for students of that academic aspect of going to college, but also getting to be involved and gain leadership skills. And then, of course, we'll end our time talking about what it's like to apply to Willamette, our process, and then the different ways that we provide financial aid for students. To start off, a little history on Willamette. We were founded in 1842, which was a long time ago. That actually makes us the oldest college in the Western United States. We were founded before Oregon was even a state. And that's pretty cool when you look even deeper into Oregon history. Where Willamette is located is in Salem, Oregon, which is the state capital of the state of Oregon. And at that time, when we were located in 1842 in Salem, there was no state, so there was no state capital. So to have a college that was here before we were even a state capital or a state really does go to the traditions and history we have with the state of Oregon. We are a traditional four-year private liberal arts institution, but we are supported by four professional schools. So think graduate schools. We do have undergraduate degrees, bachelor's degrees, but we also have master's degrees and our Juris Doctorate degrees for law school. We offer our Atkinson Graduate School of Management, which currently is the number one ranked MBA, Master's of Business Administration program in the state of Oregon. We also offer our School of Computing and Information Sciences for students interested in industrial engineering, statistics, computer science, and data science, and they have graduate programs available in that school. The School of Law, we have the oldest law school in the Pacific Northwest, which should be of no surprise after I told you we're the oldest college in the Western United States. That also goes with being the oldest law school. And then we also have the Pacific Northwest College of Art, also known as PNCA, which is our full visual art school located an hour north of us in the city of Portland, Oregon. So for students really interested in true BFA, Bachelor's of Fine Arts programs, or MFAs, Masters in Fine Arts in the Visual Arts, that is a great program. They can have a traditional art school approach to their college education. We are one of the 44 colleges that change lives schools. So if you're not too familiar with what we refer to as CTCL, CTCL has been around since the 90s. And it was first started with a book called The Colleges That Change Lives that was written by a former New York Times editor of the education section named Lauren Pope. And he kind of went on a mission to learn more about colleges throughout the US. As you can imagine, working for the New York Times, particularly writing about higher education, oftentimes he wrote about, schools that, you hear about in the Ivy Leagues, but he felt like there are far more colleges out there that students are getting great leadership opportunities and academic opportunities that were a little bit more of hidden gems. And so he literally went on a tour to find those colleges, and Willamette has always been considered one of those colleges, even in the different editions of the book. As I mentioned earlier, we are located in Oregon, specifically Salem, Oregon, the state capital here. Salem is the second largest city in the state of Oregon. We're at about 175,000 residents. Portland is not the state capital, which a lot of people from outside of Oregon get that mixed up. But Portland is the largest city in the state of Oregon. This map you're looking at here, this is a map of downtown Salem, not all of Salem. But the reason we show downtown Salem is because that is in fact where our campus is located. We are located on exactly 69 acres, and you'll see it there on that map. Right across the street, exactly 28 steps away from our campus, is the Oregon State Capitol building. So students have a lot of opportunities to do internship there. And in fact, 80% of the student interns at the Oregon State Capitol building are Willamette University students. So it's kind of a given if you're interested in, politics, law, and ethics, political science, anything of that nature, you are going to intern at the state capitol building right there. That is just north of us. If you go to east of us, just across the street, you're going to see the Amtrak station there. We actually have a walking bridge that goes from our campus over to that side of the street to go over to the Amtrak station. So think if you want to take the train, so if you want to go north or south, easy way to avoid driving is taking the train. Maybe you want to go up to Seattle. It's about a 5.5 hour train ride up there. Maybe you want to do that for a long weekend that you have. Directly south of us across the street is Salem Health Hospital. That is our region's largest hospital. And that also has a lot of opportunities, particularly for students interested in the healthcare, medical field, to do volunteer hours over there that can eventually turn into internship program hours at Salem Health. Just a block from Salem Health, going a little bit farther south, is Bush Park. And that is where our athletic facilities that are off campus are there. So, really, that is 2 short blocks to walk over to our football field, our baseball stadium, as well as our track and field complex there. If you go to the west of campus, you'll see we have our city library there. But in downtown Salem, that is where there's so many different local restaurants, coffee shops. We are the Pacific Northwest. We definitely lean into being caffeinated. But we also have a lot of cool vintage clothing stores, an old historic theater. There is even Riverfront Park, which is right near the Willamette River, which you see that blue river there is the Willamette River. And Willamette is really close to there, so it takes about 10 minutes to walk down to Riverfront Park and the Willamette River, and a lot of different festivals, outdoor activities, an outdoor amphitheater with concerts throughout the spring and summer all bring students down there to be a part of the community. Going into some basic facts about Willamette and our students, we have a little over 1,600 undergraduate students, just over 550 graduate students. So total population at Willamette is about 2,200 total students. For us, that's a great size. That allows us to truly have small classes. And when I say small classes, we're talking about average of 12 students per class. And that is normal. A massive class at Willamette would maybe be 30 students, but that's pretty uncommon. So if you're familiar with the idea of some colleges having lecture halls or classes in auditoriums, we don't have any academic spaces like that. So students are always going to be in a small, intimate classroom experience. That goes with our 12-to-1 student to faculty ratio. And when it comes to academic programs, we have 60 different academic programs, anything from the social sciences and humanities to STEM and engineering. We also have some really strong programs in the performing arts, business, healthcare. So really a good sampling of different programs. A little bit more about our academic experience. Being that we are a liberal arts college, sometimes there's misconceptions with that. I think a lot of times people hear liberal arts and think, oh, they just have things in the social sciences. And that is not the case. A lot of things we have fall within the sciences. So thinking about environmental science or thinking about public health, biology, chemistry, industrial engineering. Those are just a few of the things we have in the STEM field. We also have strong things within music and theater. Actually have a musical theater program that is new this last year. But the idea behind our approach being a liberal arts school is that we want students to have a well-rounded education. So about a third of the classes they take are going to be through our core curriculum, or sometimes you hear of like general education classes, and those fall within the social sciences and humanities. So all students are learning how to read and write and gaining the growth in those areas. But then the second third of classes they take at Willamette are going to be truly through their major. And that last third is going to be having a double major, having a double major plus a minor, having three minors. Our students at Willamette are generally studying more than one thing, and it is very common for them to be studying things that are traditionally you don't think of that go together. I think of a student who graduated a couple of years ago who ended up going to medical school. She was a biology major and a music major, and she did both of those majors, graduated in 4 years, went off into medical school. So, just an example of how you can do things differently. I know a student this year who was an archaeology major and an English major. Two very different things, but she's able to do that and still explore interests in other areas too. Some things to highlight about our academic experience when it comes to our faculty is our faculty are really easy to get to know. I will say I'm a little biased because my mom was a former professor at Willamette, and so I know firsthand from the moment she would come home from work and talk about students and the interaction she had, just how much she cared about the students that she taught. But I would say that was not an anomaly. That is very standard for our professors here. One of the ways in which students can engage with their professors really easily beyond just going to class is through something we call hearths. And if you actually look up hearths in the dictionary, there's a couple different definitions that come from that. One talks about how it's, right among the fireplace. But really, the definition that rings true to me is this idea of home. A hearth is a home. And so at Willamette, hearths are academic living rooms within academic buildings that are dedicated to certain academic programs. So, for example, biology students have a biology hearth where they have a space, a study space, they can hang out, meet with different students, but also in that academic hearth where they have that study space, all of the professors have their offices surrounding that hearth. Their doors are open. It's a collaborative space for students and professors to easily engage with one another. And this idea of office hours at Willamette isn't really necessary because these hearths create these really collaborative conversations that students are able to have about school, but also just about things going on around Salem and fun events that students can go to that their professors are recommending for them. Another highlight of Willamette academically is we have a few accelerated programs that are fairly well known. One of those is our 3+1 bachelor's to master's degree in data science. So students within 4 years can actually get their bachelor's and master's degree in data science, which is fairly unique. We also have a 3+2 program within our MBA. So students in 5 years can get their master's in business administration, when that would traditionally take you 6 years to do. And then our most well-known one is our 3+3 bachelor's to JD degree. So students that want to go on to law school can do that directly from their undergraduate program here at Willamette and actually shave an entire year off of their college by doing it in a total of 6 years instead of 7 years. Our newest program is in collaboration with our Pacific Northwest College of Art, our art school up in Portland, and that's our 3+2 bachelor's degree to master's of fine arts in critical studies or fine arts as an option too. Experiential learning, this idea of getting outside of the classroom, either doing research, studying abroad, or an internship, or maybe all three, is something very common for our students. Our goal is to have every student before they graduate do some form of student engagement through experiential learning, and we make it very accessible. The picture you see on the screen right now, that is actually two of our students who were environmental science students, and in their classroom experience, they would get to go up to Xena, which is where they're at. And Xena is a 305-acre forest in West Salem that Willamette University owns and operates, and our students get to go do research up there. And we also have a farm up there where students grow organic produce and bring it to campus and have little farmers markets. So it's a really cool space for students to get to explore the outdoors from an academic lens, but also from a social lens too. We also help students with that experiential learning through studying abroad. We currently have over 70 study abroad partnerships, and about 40% of our students study abroad before they graduate. And then our Student Scholarship Recognition Day, which our students refer to as SSRD Day, happens in April every year. We don't have class that day because that day is dedicated for students to present on research they've done throughout the year. So sometimes that's research they've done in classes, but oftentimes it's research that they've done independently or through some sort of research grant that they've received at Willamette. And it's a day to highlight these presentations and for students to see what other students are doing. Now that we've talked a little bit about what it's like to be a student at Willamette, I did mention at the beginning of this presentation that I think our students are well balanced and they come to Willamette because they like this idea of, studying, but also balancing that out with leadership and involvement. The picture you actually see here, this is in the middle of our campus. We have the Mill Stream. So we do have a stream that goes through our campus. So if you're into little ducks, they're the cutest little ducks that will hang out in that stream there. But you'll see a bunch of students there on the lawn. This is not a stage picture. This would be a typical day for students on a sunny day in Oregon, hanging out here, studying, chilling. This is the vibe of Willamette. But we do have a lot of opportunities for students if they don't want to just chill and they want more organized activity, getting involved in different clubs and organizations. Our campus recreation and outdoor program is quite popular every weekend throughout the school year. They will host different outdoor adventures that students can go on. So think of things like snowshoeing or kayaking, whitewater rafting. Maybe you've always wanted to learn how to snowboard or go mountain biking. These are the type of outdoor adventures you can sign up for and go with your peers on the weekends. You don't have to have prior experience. There's always an outdoor program leader on the trip. So if you are needing to learn how to do that activity, someone is there to help you along the way too. We offer multicultural and affinity groups. An example of this, we have one of the largest luau's in the state of Oregon on our campus. We have an active student government, and we do offer fraternity and sororities with 2 fraternities and 2 sororities on our campus. And that's just a sampling of the over 90 clubs and organizations we have. We do offer NCAA Division III athletics with 20 athletic teams. So anything from football, basketball, lacrosse, swimming, just to name a few. But it is free for all of our students to go to any athletic event on campus. And about 25% of our students are a Division III athlete on our campus. In terms of getting involved in music and performing arts clubs, we have 17 different music ensembles and performing arts clubs. So anything from 4 different a cappella groups to an orchestra to a pep band to a concert band. We also have a very active theater community with musical theater productions and traditional theater productions. Comedy and improv happens on campus. So you really find different ways that you can embrace things that you're interested in. And one thing that is nice about our students at Willamette is they're really supportive of each other. So maybe you yourself are not into soccer, maybe you are more into singing. Well, you're probably going to have a friend that's on the soccer team, so you're going to go to those soccer games, but in return, they're going to go to your choir concerts because they want to support you doing the things that bring joy to your life as well. Our students are typically involved in 2 to 3 different activities at one time. So I would say students are pretty active. They come here knowing that they want to continue that activity they've been doing in high school and continue being active here in college. Living on campus, this is actually a picture of part of our dining hall. So we do ask all of our 1st and 2nd year students to live on campus. Your 3rd and 4th year, you can opt into living on campus or off campus, but we do have housing available for all 4 years. When it comes to food, again, this is part of our dining hall called Gowdy Commons. It is all you can eat or all you care to eat. One of my colleagues likes to say, eat with your heart. So whatever you would like, There's a lot of options there. We do a Blitz Market, which is a quick grab and go market on campus. So maybe you want freshly made smoothies or poke bowls or sushi, sandwiches, wraps, protein bars. That's all easily accessible, and you can use your meal card for that. And then the Bistro is our on-campus coffee shop, has some cool eclectic vibes in it. It's open late, so if you're someone that likes a coffee shop to study in, or open mic nights, poetry slams will happen in there as well. Our Bishop Wellness Center is our health center on campus. So you don't even have to go across the street to the hospital to get health care. Bishop Wellness Center is right on campus to help with all of those needs. And then Sparks Athletic Center is our athletic complex on campus. Students like it most for the fitness center that's open throughout the day. So students that want to go and use our small rock climbing wall, lift weights, do cardio, have full access to that. All right, let's move on to talking about what our application process looks like and what it's like to finance your education at Willamette too. Our application process, we have two applications, but you only have to use one of them. So many of you have already heard of the Common Application or the Coalition with Score application. We are on both of them, but again, you only do one of them. We do not have an application fee, so you do not need to pay to apply to Willamette. When you are using the Common App or the Coalition with Score application, it's going to ask for your biographical information, your educational history, your involvement in activities with your activities list, as well as kind of your general essay will be in there as well. So what do we need additionally outside of that application? We have one supplemental question that we ask students to respond to, and that's really just asking why you're interested in Willamette. Then from your high school counselor, you're going to get your official school transcripts. If you took any college classes, you'll want to get your college transcript too, a counselor recommendation, and the school report that gives us more information about your high school. So those last three additional documents come directly from your high school counselor, but you'll want to put that request in with them. So what's optional? And when we say optional at Willamette, it really is optional. It's not that optional, but you should do it. It's more optional, but if it sounds like it would help you or it's of interest to you, feel free to submit it. That's SAT or ACT scores. We have been test optional since before the pandemic, before it got cool and trendy. So we are committed to test optional. So you do not have to submit your SAT or ACT test scores. This last year, only about 30% of our applicants submitted test scores. We do allow additional letters of recommendation. So you will notice we don't require a teacher letter of recommendation. We just require the counselor recommendation. But if you have a teacher that you feel like can speak really well to you, you're welcome to submit one. A resume, maybe you like how you formatted your resume, you've worked hard on it. We do allow you to submit that. And then if you ever want to do an admissions interview, we allow those as well. That's great if you have some information that you feel like maybe you want to expand on that you're not able to in your application, or maybe you just don't have space at all in your application to talk about. You can always set up an admissions interview with us. We do those on campus if you ever want to visit campus. We also do them virtually, and we do them when we're visiting your area. So if we happen to be in your city, we can always set up an admissions interview with you then as well. Our process for admissions is a holistic review. So that means we are truly looking at all aspects of your application. We're looking at your transcripts to see what classes you're taking in the context of your high school, what grades you've gotten. We're recognizing grade trends. Maybe ninth grade was a little bit of a transition for you as you started off in high school, but maybe your grades got stronger, or maybe certain subjects are stronger than others. We are not looking for a perfect student. We are just looking for additional context so we can understand your strengths. Your essay, we're looking to learn more about you and also to see your quality of writing. In terms of your involvement, I think some of the best students at Willamette are students that have been able to balance some involvement along with their classes. And so we're looking at, have you been able to do that? And then letters of recommendation, to be honest, adults are just better at bragging about you than you are yourself. So it gives us more context on who you are as well. Ultimately, at Willamette, the things that we want out of students that come to Willamette, we want them to be prepared academically and to be ready to be part of our social and vibrant community here. When you're applying for admission to Willamette, you are automatically being considered for our largest merit scholarship. So you'll see that at the top of the screen where it says merit scholarship, $28,000 to $35,000 a year. So just by applying for admission, you are automatically considered for those scholarships. If you decide to apply by November 1st, whether that is early action or early decision, and you're admitted, you will also get an additional $1,000 a year just because we are excited that you applied early and we want to reward you for that. If you would like to be considered for additional scholarships, you can apply for what are called competitive scholarships. These are our scholarships that do have a short and separate application that opens September 1st every year. So if you want to be on the BATE team, we can give a scholarship for that. If you're interested in environmental studies or environmental science program, if you're interested in public health, music, something in the STEM field, studio art, theater, we offer scholarships in addition for all of these. We always recommend every student to submit the FAFSA to see if you can be eligible for additional financial aid. And then we always accept outside scholarships and we'll stack those. At Willamette, we are committed to making college more affordable. So we award $42 million in scholarships annually. We also are proud that 100% of our students receive financial aid. And what's important about this is 100% of our students receive financial aid in scholarship money. So sometimes you'll hear colleges say, oh, 100% of our students receive financial aid, but maybe that's through loans. We can truly say 100% of our students receive financial aid with merit scholarships. Some are getting other financial aid too, but I can tell you every one of our students gets financial aid through scholarships. We also have our competitive awards that can be stacked with outside awards. So we're not going to limit you to the number of scholarships you can bring in and take that away from your financial aid offer. We'll just keep adding it for you. And then 100% of our students are eligible for on-campus jobs. So we absolutely have work study jobs if you become eligible for that through submitting your FAFSA. But maybe you aren't eligible for work study. You can still have a job on campus and not do work study. I'm going to end it with a little bit of some deadlines for you, highlighting that August 1st, the application becomes available if you're a senior. November 1st is our early action, early decision deadline if you want to apply early. If you apply early, you'll hear back from us by middle of December. And then our regular decision deadline is January 15th. And if you apply January 15th, you'll hear back from us by the beginning of March. Great. If you have any interest in visiting Willamette at all on our website, we have different visit blocks that you can choose to sign up for. We do offer tours 12 months a year, and throughout the academic year, the school year, we even offer Saturday tours. If you are a high school senior, we can actually reimburse you for up to $500 in travel for visiting campus. So maybe that will cover a flight or hotel expenses. We will definitely honor reimbursing you for $500. Just give us the receipts within 3 weeks of visiting campus. Matt, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, Allie, thanks again. It's a lot of great information. So what's unique about y'all is you have that you're grounded in the liberal arts, right? But then you have these professional or graduate programs on top of that. And one in particular kind of caught my eye was the arts. What was the acronym? PN?
PNCA, so the
There we
Pacific
go.
Northwest
I
College of Art.
got half of it right. So, and you said it was about an hour north of y'all. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So logistically, how would that work for a student that wants to come to Willamette, wants to do the arts? Like, how does that work in terms of, do they split time classes on campus and up north? How does that work logistically?
Yeah, so it kind of depends the route they want to go. So we have some students that come to Willamette and they're like, I know I still want to, maybe they want to do studio art. Studio art is a program we have on our campus here in Salem, so they don't have to go up to Portland for it. Then we have some students that are like, I want to explore animation. Animation is going to be in Portland. And so
Mhm.
they can work with their professors and their faculty advisor. We do have students, particularly on Fridays, they'll go up together and take all their classes on Fridays up there, but maybe they're a double major, maybe they're interested in animation, but they're also interested in environmental science. So they're going to do their environmental science stuff here and then general ed, but then on Fridays go up and take some classes there.
Okay.
If they want to do that dual program where they're getting the bachelor's and the master's in fine arts, that's going
Hmm.
to be a little bit more. They're going to spend their bachelor's degree in Salem at Willamette, and they're going to spend their graduate program time up in Portland. So once they finish
Okay.
undergrad, they'll do graduate school up in Portland.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they able, because you mentioned the Amtrak station being a block away, do folks that don't have cars take that and find it's easy to
Yeah.
navigate the two campuses?
Yeah, so actually the main train station in Portland is in downtown Portland, right in the
Hmm.
Pearl District, which is right where PNCA is.
Okay,
So
good.
that
So
makes it
very,
easy.
very
Yeah.
convenient for
There's
everything.
also a bus option. The Greyhound is also at the
Hmm.
Amtrak station. So for students that are even looking for more flexibility of times to be able to
Yeah.
go up to Portland, that's another option.
Okay. And then I guess my other academic specific question is you mentioned all the three twos, the three ones, the three threes, right? So in terms of, I guess, a high school student already thinking that far ahead, do they need to apply to that program specifically as a high schooler, or is it something that you get to campus and then after a year or so you can enroll in that? How does that work for
Yeah.
those
I love
addition
that question
programs?
because
Yeah.
we actually get it a lot. So I should have clarified that. Most of the time, students, when you're in high school, you have so many things you're thinking about. So maybe you're like,
Hmm.
oh, law school, that sounds interesting, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to commit to that. You don't need to commit to that. So you can tell us that you're interested in it so we can make sure that if you enroll at Willamette, that we're getting you that guidance right away. But you can
Hmm.
also just decide a couple years in, yes, that's what I want to do. So you don't have to know right away. There are that small population of students that come in and they know they're going to do that and they follow through the whole time. But a lot of our students, they're coming in undecided or they're coming in with a couple different ideas and changing. And those programs all allow that flexibility. The one with the data science, the 3-1, that's the one that within their first year, they kind of need to know and switch into
Yeah.
that just
Because
because
it's
it's
the small, it's the shortest amount of time out of all
correct.
those.
But the other
Yeah.
ones, it's kind of in alignment with,
Yeah.
we don't ask students to declare their major until the end of their sophomore year. So
Okay.
it's in alignment with those programs where they can make that decision
Yeah.
close for that time frame.
Okay. And then I guess a question I always like to ask schools that are in relative proximity to a lot of other different kind of schools. You mentioned kind of Portland being so close by. You have Lewis and Clark and Portland State and University of Portland all there, as well as the flagship Eugene and then in Corvallis. Are there any specific, whether it's formal or informal agreements with those schools in terms of maybe doing research, like Corvallis, for example, being that land grant institution, or the schools up in Portland? Are there any sort of agreed upon uh, relationships between whether it's doing, like I said, research or taking classes that aren't offered at Willamette? How does that work for those other schools that are relatively close by to y'all?
Yeah, so there's a couple that we do have some things with. One specifically, Oregon State University is about 35 minutes south of us,
Hmm.
and they have a really strong forestry program. So we
Hmm.
actually have an accelerated forestry program that our students can go into. So they start out in environmental science and then go on and do forestry at Oregon State. So that is that's very specific to one program.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think of is that with Lewis and Clark, we are part of what's called the Northwest Five Consortium.
Okay.
And the Northwest Five Consortium is a non-traditional consortium. So I think a lot of times when people think consortium, a lot of times you think of like the Claremont colleges in
Hmm.
California where they like share classes and they're
Because they're all
all
across the street from each other. Yeah.
yes, right? So I say it's non-traditional, but it's five of the premier liberal arts colleges in the Pacific Northwest. So we have Willamette
Hmm.
University, Lewis and Clark College, Whitman College in Washington,
A future guest
University.
on the series, by the way, Whitman, coming up in a,
Oh
in a week
yeah,
or
so
so. Yeah.
Whitman, University of Puget Sound, and then Reed College in Portland.
Yeah.
So the five of us, we are in this consortium together, and you know, it works in a lot of different ways, but faculty share research, they share teaching methods with each other. So there's a lot of that shared faculty stuff. There's also the presidents work together and share things together. Our admissions offices, we do events together, we travel a lot together and help each other out. So There's some of that collaborative stuff through that consortium where there are shared experiences. There's not classes though. So if you're going to
Yeah.
say, oh, I'm going to go to Whitman and take that class, no, but there could be some research or like summer internship
Hmm.
opportunities because the professors do know one another.
Okay, great. Thank you. So that's all I have right now. And as you mentioned, the best way to get in touch with y'all is via the website,
Yeah.
visiting campus and all that great stuff. So that's a good place to end on. So on behalf of Allie and myself, thank you for joining us.